Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Green Climate Fund appeals to small island states to utilize available funding for capacity building. We'll have details to this story and more in the national report. With the details to the news for Monday, March 18th, I am Rikisha St. Louis. The Green Climate Fund wants small island states to take advantage of its offer of $3 million per country as support to develop their adaptation plans or pipeline of projects that should be aligned with their country programs. This is in addition to the $1 million cap per year or per country for capacity building support for strategies in their institutions. During a recent workshop on smart integration of climate change adaptation in the Caribbean, Green Climate Fund's representative, Ms. Jessica Jacob, says small island states need to take greater advantage of these resources.
We are not promoting, and I don't think it's a good practice, and we have seen that in several countries, to take directly the $3 million. If you want to, you can. But we believe that and even more in small island states, $3 million is a lot of resources, and we can do them per phases, for example. So you can think of how you're going to do your plan in hopefully a year, don't take 3 years, Ideally, then next year, depending on what are the gaps, what are the findings, etc., think about how you're going to build the proper pipeline aligned with other efforts that you're already doing with other donors, and then try to really strategize, let's say, in a short term, but it could be as well per sectors, as I mentioned before. It could be more, for example, focusing on the resilience of your infrastructure. So it depends on each of the countries how they want to see it, but the resources are there.
The only Caribbean countries currently utilizing these resources are Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, and the Dominican Republic. Ms. Jacob is urging small island states to start working on the priority projects that the funds can be utilized for, not just at the national level.
So we're developing, for example, with the region, since the structured dialogue in Belize 2 years ago, a regional proposal on how we can support at the different regional and national level, the improvement of everything related to early warning system, articulating the different initiatives that are around there, seeing where are the gaps, investing already in technology, etc. So we're developing as well regional approach, even if we have this national support that I mentioned just before, and a little bit the intention is, whoever is there, let's use these resources, let's use them smartly. We have learned from different experience, not only in the Caribbean, but worldwide, on how these resources are being used. The proposals approved are there in the website. We can take a look at it. Grenada
will be the lone Caribbean territory in the international Brain Bee competition in Daegu, South Korea later this year. Giovanni Thomas of the J.W. Fletcher Catholic Secondary School will face the finalists from around the world in the competition in September. He won the National Brain Bee Challenge following intense competition at the St. George's University on Saturday. We get more details from Annette Moore.
The Grenada National Brain Bee Challenge finals took place on Saturday, March 16th at the St. George's University after several zonal rounds to select the finalist. While Giovanni Thomas was declared the winner, Rakiba Caton Bain of Westmoreland Secondary placed second, and coming in third was Joshua Duncan of the Grenada Boys Secondary School. There was a tie for fourth place between Nafisa Bahayat and Naomi Dantrud, both of Westmoreland Secondary. In 2018, GBSS captured the winning title with the outstanding performance of Giovanni de Gans, who later placed second with a 1-point difference from the winner of the International Brain Bee competition in Berlin, Germany. The Grenada National Brain Bee Challenge is a competition between secondary school students from Forms 3 to 5, where all questions asked relate to the brain. It is fashioned after the Spelling Bee competition with 3 phases: 1, a preliminary stage, 2, the zonal stage, and 3, the finals. During Saturday's competition, Giovanni outclassed his competitors by providing an unexpectedly specific answer to the last question posed, which determined the winner. There was the live competition, Phase 1, Clash of the Brains, and Phase 2, Last Man Standing. At the end of the brain bashing competition, Giovanni Thomas took the title.
The question was, what does beta secretase cut from larger proteins leading to increased plaques and elevated risk for Alzheimer's dementia? Our correct answer was amyloid peptides. One of the contestants provided beta amyloid peptides. It is super specific. So, beta amyloids is a protein fragment snipped from the amyloid precursor. So in a healthy brain, yes, beta amyloid will be the best answer for this case.
As his package of prizes, Giovanni received a computer tablet sponsored by the People's Group, a credit union account from Communal Cooperative Credit Union, shares from Ariza Credit Union, the winner's trophy, also sponsored by Communal Cooperative Credit Union, a trip to Daegu, Korea from September 21st to 25th, 2019, and neuroscience texts. The second, third, and fourth place contestants also received special prizes. All 15 finalists received stethoscopes, certificates of participation, and shares from Ariza Credit Union. In the essay competition, Giovanni Thomas also captured first place, receiving electronic gadgets sponsored by Hankey's Computer Services, while second place went to Sekou Sam of the GBSS. There was a tie for third place by Tiha Patrice of Hillsborough Secondary and Amy Chase of GBSS. The Facebook People's Choice Award winner was Corey Boyd of the Presentation Brothers College, who received the trophy sponsored by the Communal Cooperative Credit Union. The School Challenge Trophy went to the J.W. Fletcher Catholic Secondary School and was also sponsored by the Communal Cooperative Credit Union. For the National Report, I'm Annette Moore.
Thank you, Annette. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
This Wednesday, March 20th, we head to the Progress Park for the Eastern Zonal Meet of the National Secondary School Games. Come see powerhouses: St. David's Catholic Secondary, St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary, St. Joseph's Convent Grenville, Grenville Secondary, and the Grenada Christian Academy. So this Wednesday, 20th March, Progress Park, and then on Friday, 22nd March, we head to the Hillsborough playing field for the Northern Zone, which features Hillsborough Secondary and Bishop's College. Admission to all these games absolutely free. Our nation's children still have a dream. The opportunity will shape their destiny. Your games, your future. Progress Park this Wednesday.
Welcome back. The government of Grenada is taking steps to merge two of its flagship projects, the Basic Needs Trust Fund and the Climate Smart Agriculture and Rural Enterprise Program (CIAP), into a single program called Rural Development. The merger is intended to bring greater efficiency to the government's work aimed at enhancing rural development and improving the lives of persons in rural areas. The newly initiated joint approach for CIAP is funded primarily by the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, through a loan and supplementary loan totaling just under US $6.5 million, a loan of US $3 million from the Caribbean Development Bank, and the counterpart financing of US $2 million from government. Contributions will also come from the Grenada Industrial Development Corporation and beneficiaries of the Rural Development Initiatives. The BNTF component of the program is funded through grants from the Caribbean Development Bank, amounting to just over US $2.5 million, and funding from the government of Grenada valued at US $590,340. Meeting with IFAD officials visiting Grenada recently, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Dr. The Right Honourable Keith Mitchell said the merger will give effect to much-needed synergies and cost savings. Meetings have already been held with various stakeholders, and IFAD is currently finalizing administrative activities in preparation for the first disbursement of funds. Among the initiatives to be undertaken by Rural Development in collaboration with stakeholders are the training of 160 youth in life skills, business support for young entrepreneurs, training of extension officers and fisheries officers, and the rehabilitation of 5 rural roads. Continuing with the news, Prime Minister Dr. The Right Honourable Keith Mitchell has pledged his support for cricket competitions in St Andrew and St David. At a meeting with members of the newly elected St Andrews Cricket League executive last Friday, the Prime Minister welcomed the news that the 2019 league features 32 teams competing in 3 divisions. Dr. Mitchell encouraged the new executive to do all within its power to promote the growth and development of cricket in the parish that has created several excellent cricketers. The executive members shared some of their plans with the Prime Minister, including the intention to have cricket year-round in St Andrew with the staging of a women's competition, a T20 competition and 2-day matches. The Prime Minister, an avid cricket fan, has also thrown support behind the St Mark's cricket competition. At a recent prize-giving ceremony for the 2018 competition, which was also supported by Sandals Grenada, Dr. Mitchell handed over trophies and prize money to the winning teams. In addition to congratulating the winners, he encouraged the organizing committee to continue providing a platform for youngsters to improve their talent, while at the same time promoting fitness at the community level. The Prime Minister also commended members of the business community who continue to support sporting events such as the cricket competitions. And finally, Grenada is once again joining the rest of the world in observing World Social Work Day. The Ministry of Social Development, Housing and Community Empowerment, through its Social Services Division, have already begun hosting activities to mark the occasion. The Ministry's Public Relations Officer, Delroy Louison, has the details.
The 2019 World Social Work Day highlights promoting the importance of human relationships. World Social Work Day will be observed on March 19, 2019. It is a key day in the year that social workers worldwide stand together to celebrate the achievements of the profession and take the theme message into their communities, workplaces, and to their governments to raise awareness of the social work contributions and the need for further action. Here in Grenada, it is no different, as the ministry with responsibility for social workers, the Ministry of Social Development, Housing and Community Empowerment, along with its collaborating partners, namely the Child Protection Authority and the Grand Case Roving Caregivers, have been heightening awareness on the work of these individuals and strengthening human relationships. On Friday, 15th March, the ministry took to the streets of Guave and Victoria to meet with community members and visited the residential homes in both parishes. At the end, they gathered at the Cuthbert Peters Park for lunch. Acting Chief Social Development Officer Delroy Date speaks of the importance of human relationships.
We would have visited the 2 geriatric home, that is Child Memorial Home and Hillsview Home, and we would have made certain presentation there to them, because we know that our senior folks were very instrumental in the development of this country, and somehow they have been forgotten. And we thought that if we are looking at human relationship and the importance of it, we thought that we need to include them. So we would have focused this year on our elderly folks in our community, and that is why we are out here. We basically would have met with them, would have visited some shut-ins in both communities, and would have let them know how much we are appreciative of what they would have been doing for us.
Public Relations Officer of the Child Protection Authority, Janelle Grant Hamlet, sees the opportunity as significant.
We're always happy to be able to go out and interact with our clients and potential clients, and just to share the message of the importance of child protection and different issues like that. With the theme being the importance of human relationships, we thought it was good to share information on the different forms of child protection and even the services that we offer, foster care and adoption, and to just raise awareness generally about what child protection is, because some persons have a misconception of what it is that we do. So we thought it was an excellent opportunity to just clarify our roles and to just invite persons to call and get information about the services that we offer.
As is customary every year, the social workers attend church as a unified body, and this year the church chosen was the Grenada W.I Roman Catholic Church this past Sunday. To culminate the commemoration, the ministry will officially open its sub-office in Guave on Tuesday, which will serve the parishes of St. John and St. Mark. For the National Report, I'm Delroy Louison.
Thank you, Delroy. That story just ended the National Report for today, Monday, March 18th. Recapping the top story. Green Climate Fund appeals to small island states to utilize available funding for capacity building. On behalf of all those who made this newscast possible, I am Rikisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Wednesday, March 20th, we head to the Progress Park for the Eastern Zonal Meet of the National Secondary School Games. Come see powerhouses: St. David's Catholic Secondary, St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary, St. Joseph's Convent St. Andrew, Grenville Secondary, and the Grenada Christian Academy. So this Wednesday, 20th March, Progress Park, and then on Friday, 22nd March, we head to the Hillsborough playing field for the Northern Zone, which features Hillsborough Secondary and Bishop's College. Admission to all these games absolutely free. Our nation's children still have a dream. The opportunity will shape their destiny. Your games, your future. Tomorrow's future is here today. Friday, April 5th. Kirani James Athletic Stadium. National Secondary School Games. Run, throw, jump. National Secondary School Games 2019. Your games, your future.
Rainwater catchment system. Rainwater will be channeled into a 20,000-gallon water storage tank and is supplied to the farmlands through a shared pipe network. Schools are also utilizing rainwater for domestic and agricultural uses. This climate smart project features a rooftop rainwater catchment, a 20,000-gallon water tank for storing the rainwater, a solar pump, and a drip irrigation system for the school's garden. The benefits of rainwater harvesting are tremendous.
I just want to encourage the entire populace to look at rainwater harvesting as a very serious, important method of augmenting our current water supply. Lots of water go to waste when rain falls, and we can do better in terms of, capturing some of that rainwater that falls and use it for washing cars, use it for wetting plants, rather than use the treated water from the Nawasa system.
We have to invest in storage to take us through the dry season. Homeowners can assist by also investing in rainwater and storage, whether it be rainwater and or Nawasa, so at least we can sort of ride out the period together. We know it's going to come every year. We have to make the necessary preparation, both at the state level and at the residential and commercial level, to make sure that we don't have interruptions and poor quality of service.
All this talk about climate change and what could happen as a result, less rainfall and stuff like that, it is good to adopt new measures. It is good to accept whatever new technology that you can invest in to make you more secure. In other words, you're making preparation for the unknown, what is to come.
Setting up an efficient rainwater harvesting system requires a suitable roof surface to collect quality rainwater, installation of mesh to prevent leaves and debris from blocking gutters, a filtering mechanism on the downpipe, and implementation of a first flush system to prevent contaminated water from entering the tank, treatment of stored water, and a seasonal cleaning of tank. Successful rainwater harvesting requires optimizing systems to increase the quantity and quality of water systems and catchments, making vulnerable communities more resilient when facing water scarcity.
Welcome to this another episode of ECCB Connects. This week we'll be looking at the issue of correspondent banking relations, and to discuss this important issue we have with us Deputy Governor Mr. Trevor Brathwaite. Deputy Governor, welcome to ECCB Connects.
Thanks for showing on. Nice to be back again.
Deputy Governor, within the past few months we've been hearing a lot of discussion about regional commercial banks losing their correspondent relations with their international banks. We've also been hearing of the term de-risking. So when we hear about correspondent banking relations and de-risking, what exactly is happening here?
Well, the two are not necessarily the same. So let me explain de-risking. De-risking comes about from banks, international banks, who have correspondent relationships with our banks in our region, terminating the relationship because they feel that it is too hard for them to go through all the risk-based procedures that the FATF has outlined that they should need to take. So they don't want to take all the risks involved, so that's where the term de-risking comes from. The part of this then is it affects the correspondent banking relations. So you and I and all our citizens from time to time will want to buy an item from the United States, for example, which is in US dollars. So we will go to our bank and then we will use our EC dollars in order to pay for that transaction. The bank, on the other hand, will have to pay the US supplier. So the way that our local bank will pay the US supplier is that they would now transmit that money to a bank that they have a relationship with in the United States. And then that bank will pay the supplier. So without that channel, then it means that it will be very difficult for our citizens, for our business persons to purchase items from, let's say, the United States or even from Europe. That means that it will be blocking trade in our region because we import most of our stuff from the United States in particular. So our business persons will not be able to buy inventory to sell in their shops. People will not be able to buy stuff from Amazon, say. Parents who send their children to school in the United States will not be able to pay for their fees, will not be able to pay for their upkeep. And some of our folks who go overseas for medical attention, they might not be able to pay for the cost of medical care in the United States. So it affects a wide array of our citizens and business persons in our region.
And this is indeed a serious issue.
It is quite serious because, as I indicated, we are important nations. So everything that we use, most of everything that we use, we import. For you to import, you must have the ability to pay for those imports. Even if you had a lot of EC dollars to pay for your transaction, then without a correspondent banking relationship, that's where it stops. The local bank will not be able to process that transaction on our behalf, and therefore no merchant will send goods without the assurance of being paid.
And especially now, since we use a lot of credit cards and online shopping.
Especially now. And The other part of it that affects, and it's likely to affect us, is that we are tourist countries. Tourism is our main revenue earner, and there are instances in other countries where they have been completely de-risked and there's no correspondent banking relations. Tourists have paid for accommodation using their credit cards and what have you, and the money cannot be remitted to the country, so the country loses out from tourism receipts.
So, Deputy Governor, what is being done to address this all-important and serious issue? And we'll start from the level of the ECCB.
Well, from the level of the ECCB, at our last Monetary Council meeting, the Monetary Council agreed on a 4-pillar approach. Diplomacy at the highest level, getting our banks to sign up with a SWIFT Know Your Customer portal, getting our banks to consider consolidation and amalgamation so that there'll be more volume of transactions, because one of the issues that has arisen from the correspondent banks is that there's not sufficient volume for transactions. So
for the international banks to continue doing
that's
business.
right. So if we try to consolidate and amalgamate, then that means the banks then will have more volume, and it means that the international banks might be more favorable to providing these services to our region. So a Caribbean bank in the U.S. is one of the considerations that we are thinking about, so that it can offer services to our local banks in the United States.
Persons have questioned about, how will this actually work, this Caribbean bank in the U.S.?
Well, it's not, the proposal is not for it to be a full-fledged bank, but just to offer services for transaction purposes. So it will be a clearing bank, so to speak, for that particular purpose. So the idea is not to have a full-fledged bank, doing all the banking services that we know about, loans, deposits, etc., but just to have a clearing institution so that the banks can facilitate transactions into the United States.
I know some work is also being done at the wider level, Caribbean region, and you have attended several meetings. Tell us where we are with that.
Okay, so following our meeting at the Monetary Council, where the Monetary Council agreed on the 4 pillars, there was a Carriacou intersessional meeting, heads of government meeting in Belize, which I attended, representing the central bank. And these proposals from the council were put on the table and they were accepted. So Prime Minister Brown had been named as the chair of a subcommittee on de-risking at the CARICOM level. And the primary purpose for these individuals, the heads of government, is to pursue the diplomatic role that we had suggested should be done. And as a result of that, there will have been a couple of meetings at the highest levels in the United States, the last being of the Vice President Biden in Washington recently, where that matter came up. So what we're trying to do is to make sure that there's a lot of action by regulatory bodies in the United States. The Fed Reserve, the Central Bank of the United States, the Office of the Control of Currency, which is another regulatory body, and the State Department and the Treasury Department, so that these persons can be sensitized as to what the risking and lack of correspondent banking can do to our small countries. Because you realize that we are very small in terms of population size, and then we're just a little pin drop in the whole range of banking in the entire world. But we are the ones that are affected the most because of our posture to import most of our stuff.
Given the seriousness of this issue, there is the need, of course, to move quickly on having all of these issues addressed. What's the next step?
Well, the next step is to continue the diplomatic speed on this, and then continue to talk to the regulatory bodies. So there was a meeting in Washington recently where the regulatory bodies were invited. It was sponsored by the World Bank and the IMF, and we were there to press the issue with respect to the regulatory bodies and how they can work around it. We got some sympathetic air, but in some cases, the people that you are speaking to are not the ones that are affected by de-risking or correspondent banking. So some of them don't think that it is much of a muchness, if you want to put it that way, because they are not affected individually by this. And so it will be a little hard to convince persons that, you know, this part of the world needs the attention. And as I say, we're just a small group of individuals, but we have to push and keep pushing so that we can get the necessary recognition. I must say that recently we see another group of banks coming into this area and offering correspondent banking services. So some of our banks who have received notices from their main correspondent bank, and in one case, one received notice a week ago that the correspondent banking relations will be terminated in August. So they have begun having discussions with another group to see whether or not they can get correspondent banking relations. So there's a replacement effect, but of course these things come with a cost, so that even if they got correspondent banking relations re-established with another institution, it might cost them a little bit more than what it was before. But one has to weigh that cost against not having correspondent banking. So what's the choice? A little more cost to get correspondent banking, or no correspondent banking at all.
So we do have cases within our banking system where their relationship, their correspondent banking relationship, has actually been severed.
There's one bank that received notice last week. There was another bank in another territory for which their correspondent banking relations with a European bank was terminated. There have been notices that have been issued to other banks, and most of those notices are issued to our national banks, where there's a potential threat of the cutoff of correspondent banking. In one particular case, the bank asked for an extension, which they received, but that extension was not for an inordinate amount of time. I think it was about a month or two. So shortly, and they are pursuing other relations, shortly they too will be severed. Other banks now have received notice of increase in fees. So in some cases, fees have been doubled so as to maintain the correspondent banking relation.
What will it really mean for our people if this issue is not resolved favorably?
Well, Shomal, it could mean that our citizens and our business persons may be in a position where there will not be any economic activity. All right? So you and I, if you want to take it to the extreme, will not be able to go and shop in a supermarket because the supermarket will not be importing the stuff that we like to buy, right? There might be an advantage to that, so they might go more local, but then there's a supply issue. You and I will not be able to even buy the shoes or clothes that we wear. Online shopping might be in jeopardy, right? Cars, we don't manufacture cars here, right? Tires, parts for our vehicles. So you can, the list goes on and on.
Direct and serious impact.
Direct and serious impact. But we hope it doesn't come to this. We really hope, we are very optimistic that the powers that be will listen to us, and we see some hope, but we need to keep pushing the issue all the time.
Deputy Governor, thank you very much for speaking with us on ECCB Connects.
Thank you very much for inviting me again, Sheldon.
You are watching ECCB Connects, protecting our currency, developing our region. And now for this week's financial tip.
Hello, this is Candy Williams, a teacher at the St. Augustine Primary School in Montserrat and a graduate of the ECCB Savings and Investment course. Avoid putting the bulk of your investments in a single instrument, company, or industry. It is also important to ensure that your investments are spread across different investment instruments to support your investment objectives, risk tolerance, and performance aspirations.
To view any episode of ECCB Connects, anytime, any place, at your convenience, check out our YouTube channel, ECCB Connects.
That's it for this week's episode of ECCB Connects. Thank you very much for joining us, and we do encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next time.
You said, behold, your hand is not too short and you cannot reach down and touch my soul. Oh, I'm crying for so long, trying to be strong. Where are you now? I need you for so long. Everybody hurt me. Where did I go? Reach down and fill my empty soul. I need you. Feels like I'm lost like a child. My face don't got a smile. Why am I hurting so bad? My future isn't certain. Lord, pull up the curtain and show me my destiny.
It hurts when you're closing. Your mind can't stand still. The pain is unreal. Life without the trail. Please tell me where to go. My heart is unsure. I don't know anymore. 'Cause this world is so cold.
Fighting against the Lord and losing battles that I won't win. Lord, help me. If I ain't standing on your grace, then I fail again. But it's written, I can find grace to help in the time of need. Approach your throne boldly, how dare me? Am I really forgiven all this time of sinful living? Do I have that grace your word says abound to me? And you said, yes, son. Yes, yes, so let me shake it off. Snap out of this nonsense before I'm broken off. Lord, you called me, so I am strong. Your word says it, Lord, in the book of John. Yeah, and Lord, I need your help, ain't nobody else. I need your help, cause I can't go on by myself. Lord, I need your help, cause your joy is my strength. And my help coming from the Savior who was sent. That's Jesus. Yeah.
I don't need nobody else. Can't do this by myself, no. And 'cause I really need your help. Lord, I need your help. Your help. Your help. I really need your help. Yes, your help. Your help. I need your help. Your help. Your help. I really need your help.
Environment, and he will be updating us on a number of things, including a UN Environment Assembly that was held in Nairobi. He will also speak about the award of 6 island scholarships, and he will also take a look at zonal sports and the upcoming inter-secondary school games. Minister Steele, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Philomena, and a very warm good morning to the media, our viewing and listening audience. So I will start my update with feedback from last week's meeting in Nairobi of the UN Environment Assembly. And this assembly is the world's top environmental body whose decisions set the global agenda for the environment. And this session is held once every 2 years. It's attended by 170 countries. There are over 4,700 delegates with world leaders. The assembly was opened by the President of France, President Macron. It's attended by other world leaders, ministers of the environment, scientists, business leaders, civil society organizations, academics. This year's assembly started, however, on a very somber note with the Ethiopia Airways crash from Addis Ababa to Nairobi, in which 157 lives were lost. And a number of those lives lost were due to attend that conference, and a number of UN employees. So the tone was very somber, even though the matters that were being discussed were of significant environmental importance. The theme of this year's assembly was innovative solutions for environmental challenges and sustainable consumption and production. And during the course of the conference, a number of important resolutions were passed, which spoke to pollution, marine litter, plastics, and sustainable consumption and production, among other subjects. I presented on behalf of Grenada a national statement to the Assembly, and during my address, I spoke of Grenada's environmental challenges, whether that is loss of our biodiversity, the effects of climate change, sargassum inundation, plastics pollution. But I also spoke of some of the innovative solutions that Grenada was putting forward to address some of those challenges, whether that's the banning of some single-use plastics and styrofoam, the strengthening of policies and our institutions, whether it's eco-based adaptation solutions that are being implemented throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, and other climate action. But in addition to speaking of our specific challenges and our solutions, I also highlighted that globally we needed to dig far deeper to address some of the underlying causes of the problems that we're facing, and most notably that of climate change, and the need for there to be greater ambition with the world's leading polluters, who are contributing most significantly to the generation of greenhouse gases, the cause of climate change, whereas Grenada, as a small island developing state, we contribute the least to these emissions, yet we face the greatest negative impacts from climate change. I also called for greater support for small island developing states such as Grenada, for us to adapt to the effects of climate change, and whether that is technical support and assistance or financial support, whether that is through grant and concessional loan financing, and greater and easier access to it, were highlighted. I also presented on behalf of Grenada on an international panel with other ministers of the environment, vice ministers of the environment, other representatives from countries including Germany, Japan, Norway, Luxembourg, India, and Pakistan. And in this panel, Grenada was presented as a global leader in terms of the climate action and environmental action that we are taking, and how that could be an example to not only other small island developing states, but larger countries as well, in terms of some of the progressive actions that we're taking. It was also an opportunity to highlight some of the successes we've had in mobilizing international resources for our climate action. But what struck me throughout the course of the meeting, and in my discussions and my interactions with colleague ministers from around the region, was although we're able to demonstrate some major successes as Grenada and some of the other islands individually, collectively as a region, there is a lot more coordination that we need to do in terms of presenting our case as a region. We're competing with other regions around the world in terms of resources and support, and the need for us to collaborate with a much stronger single voice was highlighted. And coming out of our Caribbean caucus, we agreed to work with UN Environment to put a proposal for a more strategic work in a more strategic engagement at a CARICOM level, which will hopefully be presented at the next CARICOM Heads of Government meeting. And it's important that we raise this with our heads. We have a limited opportunity with the resources that are available internationally for us to ensure that as a region, irrespective of our individual gains, but as a region, we ensure we get our fair share of that support. So moving on to Island Scholarship Awards, it was presented the findings of the National Awards Selection Committee. The recommendations for 6 island scholars for our top performers at TAMCC were presented, and this was in the areas of both associate degrees and CAPE qualification. And the areas that the island scholarships cover include natural sciences, social sciences, humanities, business studies, technical and vocational education and training, and information technology. The value of each of the 6 scholarships, island scholars that were awarded, is up to $65,000 per year per student. So per student will be receiving support of up to $195,000 over the course of their studies. And these names were submitted by TAMCC to the National Awards Selection Committee for then submission for Cabinet's formal endorsement. And the 6 awardees are Tamara Bubb in the area of natural sciences, Toya Amendi, also in natural sciences, Sydney Walker, social sciences, Trevon St. Bernard, humanities, Tara Thomas, TVET, and Jarrell Stewart in IT. And I wish to congratulate each of those 6 students for their sterling efforts and the work and the results that they have been able to demonstrate, and wish them all the best in their continued studies. It's important to note that these 6 students, as with all scholarship awardees, will be bonded. And we cannot stress the importance, once again, of students adhering to the terms of those bonds. Grenada expends many tens of millions of dollars, in the region of $40 to $50 million per year on scholarships to our students. And these resources, it's actually taxpayers' money, it's the government money, taxpayers' money that is contributing to these scholarships. And it's important for the individual students to recognize the national sacrifice that is made to afford them the opportunities to continue their studies, and the need for them to give back in terms of national service, in terms of serving their bond. And together with St. George's University, we're actually reviewing once again the bond contract to see how that could be further strengthened to ensure that there is solid enforcement of that bond. But then specific to medical students, medical graduates, where, again, many tens of millions of dollars is being spent on training of doctors and nurses, and the need for them to enter our National Health Service to provide support so that we could provide better health care to the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. There will be special focus working with St. George's University on those scholarship awardees in medicine who have not fulfilled the terms of their bond, who are employed with St. George's University. And we'll be working with SGU to identify those individuals and to ensure that service is provided. They can continue working in their employ at St. George's University, but they need to carve out time to come back and work within our healthcare system throughout the course of their working week, their working month, to fulfill the terms of that bond. And in addition to that, those graduates who have served their bond will be asking for a voluntary program where those medical students can offer their service on a voluntary basis, but speaking to their sense of national duty to provide some time again within our National Health Service. Now, these 6 scholarships, Island Scholar awardees, are in addition to the recent announcement of other SGU scholarship awards. 25 medical scholarships, each valued at $700,000. That's a total of $17.5 million that's been invested in new and upcoming doctors. 5 pre-med scholarships, 2 medical health scholarships, 1 veterinary, and 30 in the area of arts and sciences, with 10 being a nursing qualification. So this is again a demonstration of government's commitment to enhancing the capacity, in providing opportunities for our young men and women here in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. The final subject I'll speak about is the National Secondary Schools Games. So Cabinet was given an update on the successes of the recently held Western Zone Games. The level of student, athlete, and spectator participation was excellent, and a great showing, a great performance for all of those involved. And this was with the support of many principals, teachers, coaches, and parents. So I wish to congratulate the ministry and those principals and those teachers who participated for their sterling efforts. And this followed the Southern Zone Games, and this week we have the upcoming Eastern Zone Game, which will be held on Wednesday at Progress Park, and then in Carriacou on Thursday and Friday, with the finals being held at the Karani James Athletic Stadium on the 5th of May. So once again, I wish to take this opportunity to congratulate all of those who have been involved in making this such a success. There is a however, and I wish to address the matter of those few principals and teachers who continue to push their work to rule protests with regard to these games. And this protest is against the deductions that government made of salaries for the days not worked by teachers during the strike action, the industrial action. And to highlight that all they are doing in terms of this work to rule is actually disenfranchising our children. It's denying them the opportunity to showcase their athletic talents. It's denying opportunities for students, for parents, to see our students perform at the highest level in our athletics schools calendar. And we all recognize that this is an important part of our children's education and their personal development. So this supposed work to rule is denying them those opportunities. But we recognize that it's an employee's right in an industrial dispute to withdraw labor subject to following the correct procedures as laid out in the labor code. But we also have to recognize it is an employer's right to deduct pay, to deduct salaries from those days that are not worked. And government is absolutely clear on this principle. But as we know, the Grenada Union of Teachers has challenged this principle and put the matter in the hands of the court. This too is their right. But to take the matter to court and to work to rule at the same time actually makes no sense. All this does, as I said earlier, is it negatively affects our children. And those principals and teachers must realize that they cannot have their cake and eat it. You cannot challenge something in the courts, yet take action, continue to take action, which is affecting our children. And the question that needs to be asked is, what if the courts rule in the government's favor? We can't turn back the time. We cannot make up the time lost, the opportunities lost for our children and the services, the education that they are being denied during this industrial action. So this is something that has to be called out. It is affecting the futures of our children. Again, you cannot have your cake and eat it. We must always do what is in our children's best interest. So with all of this said, we look forward to the continued successes of these zonal games. We look forward to what will take place tomorrow, on Thursday and Friday, and then in the finals on the 5th of April, where we can see our young men and women, our students, our children performing to the best of their ability with the support of the ministry, with the support of principals, with the support of teachers and parents. This is about our children. On that note, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Members of the media, the floor is now open. As per usual, please identify yourself and your media house before you ask your question.
Good morning. Akeisha Felix, the Grenada Broadcasting Network. Okay, as it relates to the games, right? Last week, the Western Games, I was actually there to witness. Would we see an increase in physiotherapy? Because what you would have noticed is that once the athletes would have completed a race and probably injured or something. I'm not certified in that field, but I mean, like the carrying of the athletes and so on, it just look wrong. So, I mean, like, would we see an increase for the Eastern Games, like an increase in the physiotherapy path? So yes, just the physiotherapy.
Well, thank you, Akeisha. Well, I'm not an expert in this either, but if there were observations and there's room for improvement with each of the games, we would want to see areas in which we can improve, areas that need to be addressed. So this will be certainly something that I will raise with the ministry as we conclude this press conference. But I'll certainly hope that if there were shortcomings that were identified in previous events, that improvements will be seen moving forward.
Okay, final question is related to the environment, right? Okay, so I did a story recently in Savon Swayze, that in St. Patrick's, before you go into Bathway. Right, so when would we actually see like stiffer penalties or actually see somebody getting charged for the illegal dumping and so on? Because as we know, there's only one designated dump site. But the area in St. Patrick, it is unsightly. So yes, so as it relates to stiffer penalties and actually charging the perpetrators, how soon would we see something like that?
Well, the issue of illegal dumping is a top priority for the ministry, and we're seeing increasing cases. In addition to Swayze, as you identified, Pearls, and I reported in an earlier press conference some of the issues and action that was being taken to address that. The matter has been raised, and we will be clearing the litter, the garbage, and it's a lot of white goods, fridges, stoves, etc., that I believe have been dumped there. There are two matters, specific cases that have been brought to our attention where there is video evidence of 2 trucks illegally dumping at Pearls. And we have been in contact with the Attorney General's office. Video material is being examined. And if those drivers can be identified, and that process is taking place right now, we will prosecute to the full extent of the law. The law clearly states the nature of offenses and the fines that are associated with it. And as I said, we will be exercising to the full extent of the law to make an example so that others will not follow suit. So that is an area that we certainly will be strengthening as we move forward. The laws are there. We simply have to enforce it. But it's based on having evidence, and we call again on persons within the community who are aware, who know of individuals who are illegally dumping, to inform us so that action can be taken.
Okay. Another issue, since we're on, the illegal dumping and so on, the sand mining in St. Andrews again. I'm from St. Andrews, so right. So yes, so in the conference area, that is another problem, the sand mining issue. So I mean, while you're looking into the illegal dumping, that is something that you should, it's not really a question, just.
But it's an important point because again, the law is clear on that, and it comes back to enforcement.
Rakisha St. Louis, GIS. Minister, can you give an update on the clearing or the cleaning of the sargassum, please? Because I noticed that at Subi's we have the stench is back, and then recently we had an influx in St. Patrick. And I know we had some concerns as it relates to what mechanism we use, because we started with the heavy machinery and we were moving away from that. So can you just give an update?
Yes, so we've actually presented to Cabinet the action plan for this this coming season. What we've found is the sargassum inundation has actually started early. So this is certainly a chronic issue that that we see as getting worse as the years progress. But within that action plan, there were a number of solutions that are being proposed that will be rolled out in due course. It starts with the mobilization of our environmental wardens. There are wardens, teams of wardens that are associated with each constituency, 4 teams per constituency, 6 wardens per team. So they would be responsible for doing the manual clear up. So this is light, environmentally sensitive clearing, and environmental wardens have already been deployed to some of our beaches, certainly up in St. Patrick's. So that is going to continue throughout the course of the year. To supplement that for heavier inundation offshore, we have sourced through the German development partner GIZ a piece of machinery that has been grant funded by the Germans that will be used to collect the sargassum offshore. The equipment was actually deployed for clearing of the reeds in Grenada. That was the original project design. But we've asked the technical experts at GIZ whether this equipment could also be used in saltwater conditions offshore, and they have confirmed that. So we are working with GIZ, with NAWASA, in terms of how we can actually deploy this offshore to reduce the amount of sargassum that comes on shore. And those discussions are taking place as we speak. So what we will see is with the introduction of that machinery, a much more efficient collection. But we know that isn't going to be enough also. It's one piece of equipment. We have many beaches. We also have Carriacou and Petit Martinique. So the ministry is also working together with the OECS Secretariat, with other islands within the region, as to other pieces of equipment that are suitable for deployment. We have approached the Japanese government for financial support in this, both at a national and at a regional level. And then the third area is prevention. So it's looking at solutions such as booms, which could be deployed offshore, which will provide a physical barrier to the sargassum, so it could be kept offshore. And again, some of the equipment marine equipment could be deployed to reduce what is at the back of that barrier. And we've made contact with the University of the West Indies, who have conducted a number of research studies as to the most appropriate equipment that can be used. So there are a number of approaches that are being taken, but what we do know is that this is a major environmental threat, that we will not be able to clear all of the sargassum that's passing our shores, the same as our neighboring islands. There are areas of Florida Keys, that are also experiencing the same problems, and they are struggling to clear. So we know this isn't, we can't prevent it from happening. We cannot clear all that comes ashore, but what we can do is prioritize those areas that are of greatest environmental threat, those that are of greatest threat to human health and to our tourism industry. So we'll be prioritizing that as we go through.
Thank you. Do you know if any dialogue was held with the principals, between the Ministry of Youth and Education and the principals? And if so, what step do you think will be implemented to ensure that we get the full participation of schools? Because we still have the Eastern Games coming up, and then we have the final competition in April. Considering the current situation with the principals, you know, with their motive and all that.
I'm not in a position to speak to specific meetings or discussions that may or may not have been held, but I certainly would imagine that the ministry has reached out to principals and teachers. They're an important part. And what we have seen, and we're encouraged by the level of participation from some principals, some teachers at the Western Games, and we anticipate that that will continue with the Eastern and the Carriacou Games. All I can say at this time is that we call upon the better judgment of those principals who aren't cooperating thus far, and just reinforce the message that we need to consider what is in the best interest of our children and our students at all times. That must be put at the forefront of their deliberations and support that is provided. And again, to remind us of that fact, you cannot have your cake and eat it. The point is taken with the matter being taken to the courts. Let us allow the courts to rule and to make their judgment, and then action will be taken after that in accordance with the court's ruling. Let's leave it there. You cannot take a matter to court and in anticipation that the court rules in your favor, which from a government's perspective we question, we hold to our principle that we have the right to do what we have done. You cannot penalize our children and our students in the hope that a court will rule in your favor. As I said, we cannot turn back the clock. What has been denied to our students, our children, we cannot make back. It's lost. It's a lost opportunity. It's lost development for them. If monies are due to be reimbursed, can always be done retroactively. That's easy. But as I said, making up for the lost opportunity for our children, that's gone. So I call upon the better judgment of our principals and teachers, those who are not cooperating thus far.
Do we have any further questions this morning? Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen of the media, thank you very much for joining us. To our listeners and viewers who have joined us, again, apologies for the late start, but the explanation, was given. We were being considerate of media representatives who were en route to the post-cabinet press briefing. That brings us to the end of the briefing for this week. Minister Steele, thank you so much for the wealth of information that you have imparted. Members of the media, for your questions. We look forward to very good, balanced stories being carried in the media. Thank you again for joining us. Just in closing, a reminder to the general public that the royal visit takes place this weekend, actually on Saturday. The Royal Highnesses, the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall, will be in Grenada on Saturday afternoon, and among the things that they will be involved with, they will meet with the Governor General, Her Excellency Dame Cecile de la Grenade, the Prime Minister and other parliamentarians. A farmers market will be created on the Carriacou, and they will attend that. The Prince will also participate in a roundtable on the blue economy, a subject that is right up the alley of Minister Simon Steele. And their Royal Highnesses will also visit the Dive Grenada mural on Grandance Beach. So more details about the visit will be forthcoming, but this is just to let you know, give you some early insight as to what will take place on Saturday. Thank you so much again for joining us this morning. I am Press Secretary Philomena Robertson. Hope to see you again soon.
This Wednesday, March 20th, we head to the Progress Park for the Eastern Zonal Meet of the National Secondary School Games. Come see powerhouses: St. David's Catholic Secondary, St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary, St. Joseph's Convent St. Andrew, Grenville Secondary, and the Grenada Christian Academy. So this Wednesday, 20th March, Progress Park, and then on Friday, 22nd March, we head to the Hillsborough Playing Field for the Northern Zone, which features Hillsborough Secondary and Bishop's College. Admission to all these games absolutely free. Our nation's children still have a dream. The opportunity will shape their destiny. Your games, your future.
Imagine that you've worked all year and finally able to escape to Grenada for the perfect holiday. You are now relaxing on Grandance Beach with the wind in your hair and sand on your feet, hearing the sound of the waves crashing on the shore and birds chirp.
Miss, you want any coconut water?
No, thank you.
Oh gosh, miss, buy something now. What about these pretty necklaces?
No, thank you, sir.
You sure you don't want no coconut water? It's good for your daughter, you know. Miss, you have any children?
This is harassment. One bad experience could translate into the loss of new and repeat visitors. Tourism benefits everyone. Tourism is everybody's business.
Grenada, the games have evolved. The National Secondary School Games, Friday, 5th April. We will witness intense athletic competition, fierce but friendly rivalry, and a unique display of sportsmanship. All the secondary schools across the Tri-Island will compete for the championship. The National Secondary School Games, Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Our nation's children still have a dream. The opportunity will shape their destiny. The National Secondary School Games, Friday, 5th April. Your future, your game. Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada via www.hardtalkgrenada.com.
This Wednesday, March 20th, we head to the Progress Park for the Eastern Zonal Meet of the National Secondary School Games. Come see powerhouses: St. David's Catholic Secondary, St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary, St. Joseph's Convent St. Andrew, Grenville Secondary, and the Grenada Christian Academy. So this Wednesday, 20th March, Progress Park, and then on Friday, 22nd March, we head to the Hillsborough Playing Field for the Northern Zone, which features Hillsborough Secondary and Bishop's College. Admission to all these games absolutely free. Our nation's children still have a dream. The opportunity will shape their destiny. Your games, your future.
Oh yeah, I am stuck between a rock and a hard place in this modern time. God gave us a gift, we brain and we cranium, still He gave us a mind. Think about positive endeavors to make we life rise up. But some people that I know thinking so low, they brain living in the dust because they would see it on the name of a brother with malice intention, when instead they could be uplifting a sister. your life progression. It is so hard. Now when a man turn a big man and still didn't grow. But the reason they procrastinate and gossip is because their mind is poor. So I say poor mind will gossip. Illiteracy, simple mind, talk about places that they could never be. Ordinary mind, talk about events and personalities, but wouldn't mind speak about ideas, and great mind speaks philosophy. The mind is such a spiritual force, will make you do what's right. And for sure, my friends, you are in control, so there's no reason to fight. I know you heard this before. Life is how you make it, so be honorable. Now when you sit in a state of idleness, not making your mind simple. Now all you should know, your mind is the center of your universe. A bad thing to waste. Yes, man, in all different sizes, and in your head.
Good morning to you once again, Grenada, Carriacou, and Madnik. 5 minutes after the hour of 11 o'clock. My name is Sheldon Scott.
I'm Devon Romain.
And this is Hard Talk. Yeah, it's a beautiful Tuesday. Yeah, less dusty. I see no dust, man. I seen clear.
Yeah.
I seen clear.
Much clear.
Yeah, just still in 100%. But I seen clear. Yeah, that's wonderful, man. Devon, how was the night?
Well, good.
Good.
In one word, good.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice, man. A night to survive and see the next day is a good
Give
one.
God thanks and praise, always.
As I said on Facebook, the only person to make you happy is you. Yeah, nobody can make you happy.
And if you're not happy, you cannot make anybody happy.
Yeah.
Know that. Don't try to make someone happy when you are sad, when you are not happy.
Yeah.
It don't make sense.
Overextend yourself to make other people happy, and in the process make yourself sad. And then you end up making other people sad because you're sad.
Exactly.
So you can't make other people happy unless you're happy.
Unless you're happy.
Yeah, so you have to be happy. They say the way to be happy is...
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
Yeah.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you love NNP, clap your hands. If you're happy and you clap your hands.
Good morning to you, Mrs. D'Souza, out there in Brooklyn. Hope that you're having a wonderful morning this morning. Brooklyn, USA, not Brooklyn, Grenada. You know what I'm saying? We gotta say. But I don't know what it is with St. John. St. John, if I said a place like Florida, Brooklyn.
Yeah. It's a unique place. Yes.
St. John is easier.
Florida.
Yes, indeed, yeah. Florida. Hey, let me say, Miss June out there in Aguav, good morning to you. I haven't heard from you for quite a long while, like you've lost my number. Yeah, but I hope that you have a wonderful morning this morning and everything is going your way.
Yeah, and while we're in St. John's, I'd like to say a special good morning to my children and grandchildren up there in Florida. Yeah, not Florida in USA. Florida and St. John's. Antonia, good morning to you, darling. Sheldon and my grandkids. Jabari.
Look at here, boss. You tell me hello again. You say Sheldon. Oh, you have a son named Sheldon. Okay, right, sorry. Go ahead.
Sheldon, Jabari, Cody, LeBron. Hey guys, good morning. Have a blessed day. Yeah. Miss Carlman, good morning to you, my dear. How are you doing?
Yes, indeed. And let's say a special good morning to those of you on the live this morning. We just completed the post-cabinet press briefing. The minister on this morning, Senator the Honorable Simon Steele, minister with responsibility for the environment. And he gave quite a comprehensive report on his recent trip to Kenya.
Yeah. Which was close.
But that man was lucky, because the people on...
It was close.
The people on that Ethiopian plane, we know they was heading... the people... Wow. Brenda, good morning to you. Brenda. Hope that you're having a fabulous morning this morning. Betty, good morning. And Hannah and all of you there. I hope Dali, good morning to you. We hope you're having a fabulous morning. Taiti, morning. And Carla. Hey, dudes, morning. Enos and Neil. I'm seeing all of you on this morning. Remember to like and share the video. Yeah? Hey, tomorrow, boy. Let me say it.
Big thing tomorrow.
Tomorrow, the Eastern Games.
St. Andrews mash up tomorrow.
Yeah, Eastern Games taking place. Eastern Zone Games going to be taking place at the Progress Park tomorrow. Many people, not many people, a particular idiotic individual. Yeah, sorry, did I say that? I'm sorry. I apologize to the listeners. Yeah, but we have a certain idiotic individual who is there and hoping that the entire thing fails. Just hoping.
But see what? You can't stop it because you have SAS, you have GSS, you have Christian Academy, you have the defending women champion, intercol champions.
Yes,
St. Joseph's Convent, Glendale. Right? And you have St. David's Secondary School also too.
I feel some of the schools and them are afraid of St. Joseph's Convent making a double.
Yeah.
And that is why the principals and the teachers are trying to encourage some of them youth and them to not take part. Are you afraid St. Joseph's Convent, Grenville? Are you afraid? Are you afraid them? That's why all you thinking like that. Yeah.
I mean, they're afraid GBSS already, but Convent, Grenville in that picture, they're scared.
They're scared. They're scared of them and they're scared of Carriacou.
Yeah.
And Carriacou has theirs taking place at the
Friday.
Is it Hillsborough or the stadium, mini stadium? I have to try and remember which one. I think it's a mini stadium that's taking place this Friday. So Carriacou, the Northern Games, they'll be taking place on Friday, but tomorrow all roads lead to the Progress Park. In fact, I think that I will be there.
Yeah.
I do believe
we will be there.
Yeah, I do believe we will be there. Naz, we going up? Upper Road? Beaton Road? Progress Park tomorrow? Yeah. Gas and car?
Hannah, leave me alone, please. Hannah can sing, you know.
Can I think they're getting on with the... Yes, indeed, folks. And the phone number 4407377. You can call in now.
Call in right now.
Yeah, and we say a special good morning to our listeners out there. Max and Francis. Yes, see. You're right, out there in Petit Martinique. You know, every time I call Petit Martinique, I must call Max and first. Yeah. Max and, morning to you. Morning to your mom. Morning to your dad. And I know that Cassian is somewhere around. I'm not sure if he up there, if he down here. I know Cassian somewhere around.
Cassian, and you say he?
Yeah, Cassian. Don't worry about that. There's Cassian is in him. Yeah, I know who I'm talking about. Cassian somewhere around. So I know you're either up or you down. And your other brothers and sisters. And so I hope all of them are having a fabulous morning this morning. I know something's something wrong with my audio this morning. I don't know if it's my mic that have a problem. I don't know what it is. Something is something wrong with my mic this morning, man. Yeah, something is something wrong with the mic. Let me run. Oh, somebody's calling. That'll give me a chance to fix the mic, man. We have a call online.
Good morning and welcome. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, good morning and welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, we're fine.
All right, wonderful. I just want to take some time this morning to commend the teachers, those that have been participating, that have been going with the students to the game. I think it's a wonderful thing that they're doing. It actually shows that they do care, genuinely care about the students and about their outcome and about their future, because these games are not just sporting activities. It's the future livelihood of some of our children, our nation's children. Look at Kirani James. In an era like this, if he were not allowed to participate in the games, he would not be where he is today. So I must commend them for taking the time out to go with the students. And of course, to those who aren't going with the students, I must say that I'm very disappointed, very, very disappointed, because we fail to realize that we are hurting these students. And not only are we hurting the students, but we are also fostering disrespect. We are teaching the students that it is okay to disregard authority as long as you are trying to prove a point. You know, and we must be very careful as mentors and as adults in the things that we do and what lesson we are trying to teach these children. You know, I heard that in the the Western Games, that there was one particular school where children were there, they are eager to go, the buses were there waiting on the students, and the teachers just refused to go with the children. Some of the children were in tears. They had to take a bus on their own to go just because they wanted to participate, you know. And I mean, this just is a very disgusting thing. And we must be very careful in the things that we teach our children. And if we're talking about work to rule, let's take a moment with that. The teachers are given the mandate to secure your students' future. That is your mandate. When you enter a classroom, you are securing the future of the children that are placed in your care, right? So let's just take, for example, that we are working to rule. We know that sports is a co-curricular activity. It's not extracurricular. It is not something that they're doing on the side. It is something that our students are being graded for. It is something that takes away from their overall average if they do not participate, if they do not perform well. It is something that can hinder their overall average at the end of a school term. So it is co-curricular activity, right? If the ministry has given the teachers an instruction, right, to attend a co-curricular activity with their students, that is part of their rule. They need to abide by that rule. So if we are working to rule, and we choose not to follow the rules given to you by the minister and by the Ministry of Education, then we are breaking the rules. So then what is the point of our work to rule? You know, so we need to be very careful. I believe that this thing is becoming too emotional. It is no longer an issue of common sense. It's no longer an issue of reasonability. It is just emotion. And we need to be very careful in the things that we are teaching our children. That's my contribution for today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my dear.
Thank you so very much. All right. And once again, 440-7377. That's the number.
And
don't forget your number.
I forget my number.
Yeah.
I really forget it this time.
We have a call online.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, bro.
Yes,
man.
man.
Program.
Yes, man. Good morning.
How you doing?
Not too bad, you know.
Okay, nice, great. Well, I'm just calling, to, inform the general public. Yeah, first of all, I must say good morning to yourself and Sheldon Scott, likewise.
Thank you. Morning to you.
Yeah, just make out the voice, man.
Yeah, it's Carriacou.
My bro.
Good, man, good. Well, Sheldon, I just wanted to let you, the public know that this morning, after careful consideration, the ministry took a decision to suspend services at the Carriacou medical station. Now, we wanted to be first officially with the information. Yeah, to let our people know why we have done so. I can tell you that we had a meeting this morning because, we had conducted 2 assessments and the findings were presented to our peers. Of course, we always ensure that we vet our information as much as possible so that there would be no holes. And what we did is that we held a meeting with our chief nursing officer, our chief community health nurse, who is Miss Lydia Francis, also our senior medical officer with responsibility for community health. He deals with all of the DMOs and so on, the well-known prominent Dr. Francis Martin, and we also met with Miss Ellen Gabriel, who heads the pharmaceutical division of the Ministry of Health. She is our chief pharmacist. What we did, Sheldon, was we had noticed, that there was some growth, of some moles in the building. Now, as you know, moles basically are because of wet conditions, right? Mildew and so on. So that it could also be because some certain places are not properly aerated or ventilated. What we did is that we decided to suspend services until further notice. So all services would now be accessible out of the St. David's Health Center. As a result, we would have instructed the team at Carriacou Medical Station, that is the pharmacist, the doctor, as well as all of the nursing staff, including the caretaker, to report to St. David's Health Center. That way, the services would be beefed up and persons can also access services. So what would happen now is that the days when people would have gone to Crucial for the services, they can access it now at St. David's Health Center. So, for example, this morning, there were 2 DMOs there. That's the one at St. David and the one from Crucial. Now, that was done to ensure that the people from Crucial could continue to access their services while we work on getting their building back into proper order. I'm saying proper order because I know that some people will try to trivialize it and make it a big political football when it has nothing to actually do with that. So I'm saying though that in the best interest of both patients and also our staff, we looked at the air quality, our safety standards and so on, and we felt that, listen, whereas the work can be done maybe with them there on afternoons and so on, it was best that, we, suspend services and do something comprehensive. So what we have done was to relocate the services as I have just mentioned. So to the residents of Crucial, or if you have a loved one, a friend who lives in Crucial and would access services at the Crucial Medical Station, we are advising you to do so at the St. David's Health Center as of tomorrow, God's will, or even as of today. Sometime this afternoon, if you wanted to, check by, do visit the St. David's Health Center. As I said, we are going to be updating as we go along. But as we speak, a team from the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Works, and we had also contacted the Bureau of Standards. And our team here included Works, Nursing, Medical, which is like from the doctor's side, as well as Pharmacy and Environmental Health. They proceeded to that facility again. Now, we had already received a quotation from one of our local services providers. I would not disclose who the person is, but we did a reputable company who has been cleaning banks and schools and all about. So they are the ones who are most likely going to be undertaking the cleaning of the area. As I said, it's just a couple of moles. Some people does have moles, in schools, at homes, all about. So nothing, to really, cause unnecessary panic and alarm. And I'm saying so because I understand the climate in which we really operate. And as someone who who has been through many risk communication sessions, and is qualified at that level, I can actually see the reason for us letting the public know that is because what we are doing here is above board, and there's nothing sinister, or all too surprising about it. So we want all of your listeners to know, as I said, that in the best interest of, and that's in the well-being and health interest of both patients and staff, we took that decision. And let me also say, there is no protest because there was no form of protest per se. Save and accept that some of the workers stood outside because they were concerned, and that is, I mean, if you look at the definition of protest, and by way of health standards, it does not even fit or come close to it. So when my PS spoke with them this morning and instructed them, they all complied, they were in agreement, and hence the reason why I am confident enough to actually break that news. I can tell you that I was in the process of doing a public notice, but I felt that even if I can call and give that information way ahead, it is going to be to the benefit of the clients and residents of Crucial and surrounding areas.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so very much, bro.
Well, Sheldon, while we at it, last week, the Ministry of Health, and we got extended coverage from that, would have been partially certified, as having our hospital rated as baby friendly. I'm saying partially because there are 10 steps, and we would have passed all 8 steps already. There are 2 more steps, that, we are aspiring to really pass. And so far, from the reports from the power team, they were very, very much impressed with what the ministry, and hospital, are doing in terms of our baby-friendly readiness to encourage breastfeeding and so on. And I must say, again, kudos to our entire team, to Nurse Francis, Nurse Charles, Sister Bruno, as well as Sister Devonish and her entire team on the ward. Also to Dr. Nelson, and Donald and all of the other main players, even our health promotion team, who has been out there with Nurse Francis doing the educational rounds at all of the health districts throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and P.T. Matnick. We want to say hats off to you and keep up the very good work. Oftentimes, people will talk about the negatives, but no one talks about, the positive. I remember someone say that, success has many fathers, whereas as failure is an orphan, and it's so sad that, we have, this one style kind of mind whereby it's only when something bad happens, every cockroach crawls out of its hole to actually talk about it and then run back in when something good is happening. But you two, Sheldon, keep up the excellent work, and we will continue to let the public know what is going on when it's going on.
All right, thank you so much. Before you go though, fogging, does fogging continue? Is there a schedule where they're going, or the team is just doing assessments right now?
Yeah, we are doing assessments, and we always try again, to encourage people that fogging is primarily a last resort, because your best defense is offense.
That's always the best way to go. All right, so thank you so very much, bro.
For example, what we have been doing, right, is to encourage people to check their surroundings, look for mosquito breeding sites, empty, cans and buckets and tires and so on that are holding water. And Brother Scott, also, the derelict vehicles, we are in the process of targeting a lot of derelict vehicles. And let me make bold to see, that recently, I had to call on a critic, and I'm saying he is a critic because I feel, again, when good things are happening, you don't hear such voices. But it's a young man, who always seemingly attacks, the ministry for reasons he alone wouldn't know. But I'm saying so passionately now. So now I am taking off my information hat and doing so as a concerned citizen. Now there's an ISO in Grandans. Yes? He knows of it. Mosquito breeding, rodents, and that young man now, we all know it is at the doorstep of the tourism belt next to Scotia Bank. All vehicles, ugly as what? Yet for all, his brother, who continues to parade as a concerned politician in waiting, he can't see that as being of extreme concern to anyone. But for example, I just saw a post from him on social media that someone sent to me, asking me what is he talking about. So I called on him recently as a health advocate, likewise, to call on his brother, and I'm taking this lead here now. Mr. Earl Joseph Maitland, the politician in waiting, rather than posting those comments on Facebook, do a post again. Take photos of your brother's, your environmental ISO down at Grandans, Post it and be passionate about it, and do not have this, one style thing whereby you want to pick and choose what is important. The environmental health and concerns of children, visitors, and shoppers in that area is of paramount importance, likewise that of our healthcare providers. So unless you are willing to actually do that, you are unfit to even talk about anything else, and try to showcase it yourself as, someone who genuinely cares. Because as far as I am concerned, you are looking for mileage and you are not looking to actually address the root cause of our problem. That said, Have a good day, sir.
Thank you very much. Ouch. That one hurts. but very honest. You know, when you see things like that, you have to ensure that.
Because the individual has been going to the general hospital and I'm trying to take pictures. You know, like there might be one bed that's not that thing, and they would go to try and take a picture of that, or some pan somewhere or the other, or something like that, and bring that out. When you know that government has been replacing a lot of the beds and so on, have been replaced and continue to be replaced over a period of time, and some of the, in fact, I remember going on one particular ward one time and saying, but what is this thing doing here? And then by the time I go and come back again, they were changed out because you were just at the point of changing over the metal ones to some plastic ones, and so that could last for a longer period of time, easier to clean, no rust and that sort of thing. So, I mean, if you want to play politics with certain things, at least play smart politics with it. The kind of dunce politics that I see a lot of these younger guys doing, I don't think that they're willing to learn. It's just, to me, it's a certain level of dunce politics. That's how I would call it, dunce politics.
Wannabes.
Well, no, to each his own, and no problem with wanting to be, but at least do it sensibly and
Hello,
responsibly.
good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sheldon and Devon. How you guys doing?
Fabulous.
You what?
Fabulous.
I good. I ain't fabulous. I good.
Okay, first I would like to commend that caller that just because this Maitland person is true, always posting some negative thing on Facebook, and I think. But what I call it about really is to do with the sports. And first I want to commend the minister and the Ministry of Education and how they are handling the activity, the sporting activity. While, yes, the sporting activity is taking place, I'm concerned that there are still, schools, there are still teachers and principals that are trying to prevent the children from taking part in the activities. I mean, I at the West End game, I look at it, I said, yes, it's happening and things, but I was surprised when I heard people still, when I heard children saying that, from their school, some teachers for the Southern game. Hello?
Yes, we're listening.
We're listening.
We're listening. You go ahead.
Yes, so some teachers are still preventing, some children, some students from taking part in the game. And, and this is disheartening because the children don't really want to participate. I mean, they look at that as their time. And I think the teachers should give the children their time. And apart from that, they take the government to court, but they still have this walk rule in effect. But how can you do that? How can you do that? The next thing is, okay, you have the walk rule in effect, but sports is not an extracurricular activity. It is something that you sign for as part of your contract. And so, you have the children on one hand, some of the children and some parents too, they are disencouraging their children from taking part. But I don't see who is going to win in that situation, because you say you have this walk-through thing in effect for 1 year, you have the government in court, and I don't see how that could be right. Somebody's not thinking straight. Then how could you take the government to court and you have the union where you are paying, you are paying every month for a service, and the union asks you to do something, they take you off of your job, tell you to stay home, to come on the street and demonstrate, come on the street and walk around the street. Time for payment, the money that you put in that bank to be paid for such a time as that, they cannot pay you. They still want the government to come and pay you for the work that they tell you not to do. And then they come and they put, okay, you shouldn't have extracurricular activity, but you sign up for sports. So that is part of your job. And so somebody's not thinking you know, I want some of these things to be explained to me, how this could be right, how we could take the government to court and then you still have this walk to rule in effect, and then how you could sign up for a program and you're saying it is an extracurricular activity. So, you know, but I want to commend the minister, commend the ministry and all the teachers that are coming out to the games, and the parents are allowing their children to come because they see that, you know, something good could come out of it. Your child could probably get a sports scholarship and go on. You know, there could be another, you know, another Olympic medalist in one of the games, and maybe the teachers are not thinking straight. So, you know, I need these things. I need something to be explained, how these things could be right. Okay, Sheldon, you have a great day, you and Devon.
Okay,
all right, thank you. All right, folks, 440-7377, that's the number.
347-329-3101.
Yes, indeed. And remember, we're also live on Facebook. Yes, on Hard Talk Grenada live on Facebook and on YouTube, Hard Talk Grenada. So let's go to the phone lines once again.
Good morning and welcome.
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning to
morning,
you.
Guys.
We good.
I need an explanation or clarification relative to the Eastern Games, because I'm hearing about a 3-day event, 3 days event. Is it that you're having schools on the eastern side having a day, and then the other days are used to choose out all the outstanding athletes from the various divisions?
No, you have a 1-day event. There's no 3-day event there.
That is on Wednesday?
Yes. Only on Wednesday. There are lots of persons who are attempting to spread misinformation in relation to the games with purely a political objective. They don't care about the country, they don't care about the children, they don't care about the teachers. All they care about is their political lot. And
there's no sports on Thursday and Friday?
On Friday, there's sports in Carriacou.
Oh, the Carriacou.
But it has nothing to do with the schools who are in the eastern zone. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that I'm glad that you brought it up, because what you have done is shown that there are individuals, political activists that are out there that are attempting to see the game as a failure. I'll tell you something. You'll see every event run off